Welcome to the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast. We're your mid-career professional podcast. As we've mentioned, we've refined our focus a little bit towards the mid-career professionals group. And want to thank you for joining us on season five. Wow, I'm really just full of ahs and ums this morning. My name is Dr. Dave Peltz. I'm one of your co-hosts. Along with me, as always, my esteemed colleague, Dr. Joe Hamlett. How are you doing today, Dr. Joe?
I hope I'm doing better than you, Dr. Dave.
Yeah, that was a pretty rough start, wasn't it? Okay. So, in our usual fashion, uh, one of us will introduce a topic and then toss it over to the other person to get things rolling and go from there. And usually about the 15-minute mark, we'll throw out a weekly challenge for you to work on, which coincides with our new weekly challenge journal that you can download for free from our website. So with that, our topic for today is skill stacking for mid-career professionals. I'll say that one more time because that was kind of a mouthful. Skill stacking for mid-career professionals. So Joe, what is your thought on that?
Well, it's funny that we selected this topic just because in the past in recent weeks I've had conversations with many people about this topic, about certifications, about possibly degrees, those types of things, to help them in whatever journey they're trying to uh, go down, the path they're trying to go down. So I think that's part of the challenge is figuring out where you're trying to go, whether it's a different industry, same industry, you just want to, maybe enhance your skills, or you want to get into a whole totally different industry or different environment. You may be in an organization, you may have been working in a department that strictly dealt with finances. Now you want to switch over to HR. So what type of skills are you going to need to stack to get you to that point? Are you a individual contributor that maybe wants to move into a leadership role where you're leading people? Well, maybe you're already in a leadership role, but you want to move to that executive level. So I think that's part of it, defining where you're trying to go and then determining what makes sense, what type of certifications you need, what other skills do you need. So, for an instance, you may have been working, I'll use myself as an example, aircraft mechanic for 20 years. Of course, you learn the basics, the fundamentals about how to work on an airplane. But as you're growing through your career, progressing, what are some additional things that you need beyond just turning wrenches, maybe troubleshooting? What else do you need to stack on to your already existing skills that might enhance your ability to do your job? Or if you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm tired of turning wrenches, my back is getting sore from, lugging toolboxes around. Am I ready for that next step, which might be a leadership position? So just really starting with identifying where you're trying to go. And we've said this so many times before, identifying where you're trying to go and doing that reflection on where you are today and then determine how you're going to get
Yeah, I think that's a great way to kick things off, especially using yourself as an example. Um, and to your point, that skill stacking is important. We're talking about staying relevant, being relevant,
there.
still bringing value to the organization or the department. And there are new skills that are out there. Over the last couple of years, they've started, creating AI certifications, and AI trainings, and how to create the prompt to get the result that you are wanting. And you and I have played a lot with AI and understanding that sometimes you have to be very, very detailed and very specific to get the result, but then being too specific can just really bog it down and it doesn't produce anything. So um, that's just one example of a skill that you can stack. It may be if you're in a training department or in just a general corporate business role. There's some new tools that you need to learn about. I know over the last 10 years, there are several software products that are out there that have really become very robust, from virtual meetings to AI tools that they've integrated to you know providing a few prompts and it'll write you a paragraph or more based upon that information, and that can really help accelerate what you're doing. There's a caveat to that though, and it's to your point, if you're in a government position, you may have some restrictions on how much AI you can use. And the AI is just an example. If you're in HR, maybe you do need a special certification or just additional training, or maybe bump up your skill set a little bit because you've been a trainer. I know I just bounced from HR to training, but maybe you've been a trainer for a long time, but maybe there's a new tool that you need to learn.
And you know what, I was thinking along that same line. You know, you may have even earned your degree in your respective field 12 years ago. Have things changed since you've been in your field, since you've earned your degree? Maybe you need to, refresh, take a couple of classes that may be more in alignment with what's happening today. Because when you went to, school or your certification program, they may have had a different type of technology. And like you said, now we've got AI, we've got all these other softwares and electronics that can do a lot of these things. So, do you know how to utilize those tools? Are you up to speed on, again, the latest technology, the changes? And I think that's also part of that skill stacking. It doesn't necessarily mean you're trying to go somewhere else or prepare for another position. It could just be staying, like you said, relevant, and being in the know of what's happening in your current career field or what's happening in your industry or organization. So I think that's also important, not just to think, okay, you've got your degree. I've seen this a lot. I kind of take a look at people's profiles on LinkedIn and things like that, and you'll see that they earned a degree, say in 1995, a bachelor's degree. Then you look at 2020, and they've earned another bachelor's degree or another master's degree, just again to maybe stay relevant by accessing new data, new information, new things. And so I think that's also important when we think about skill stacking.
Yeah, and you know, I want to even carry this over into the trades. There are so many new tools, I mean, literally tools, physical tools and devices that the trades are using now that I'm like, when we just had someone come out and do some work for us, and it's like, holy cow, that is the coolest tool. I want it.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to use it because you've just done what it needed to do, but it would be so cool to have that tool. It's so, I
Yeah.
mean, it's incredible the things that have come up. And even like, they've got a computer that you can attach to your car that'll run the diagnostics
Yeah.
if you're at that skill level. And I'm not, but I use it. I've learned to use it in the last few weeks about diagnostics, resetting codes and stuff like
Right.
that. I've
Yeah.
got an error code. It's, disconnect your battery, reset it sort of thing. And it's like, there are so many cool, very neat tools that are out there that can help you skill stack, and that's the wonderful thing. All you're doing is building your relevance and increasing
Right.
your relevance and kind of future proofing yourself in some ways because you are bringing on taking those additional classes, learning those additional tools, and those classes don't have to be formal. They can be
Right.
informal.
Right.
There's a lot
Yep.
of websites out there that provide free trainings or low cost
Yep.
trainings just to keep you up to speed so you understand what's going on with the latest skills. And a lot of times you're actually skill stacking, you don't even know it because you are
Right.
mid-career. It's like, oh, this week we're going to change to this system or we're going to update this. That's skill stacking because you're learning those things instead of saying, nope, I refuse. I'm going to still do things on my old calculator and pen and pencil. You're skill stacking, you don't really realize it. But be a little bit more deliberate about is what I'm going to throw at you. Is be a little bit more deliberate about your skill stacking instead of just going with the flow and, oh, this is what my manager or leader wants me to do today, because we're upgrading. What can you do to even go a little bit further than that to really become a subject matter expert maybe? My wife, when she was working, she got pulled in on a IT project, and she was a nurse, and 6 months later she was like the subject matter expert, and everyone was coming to her to get training to understand what to do, to troubleshoot. And it's just that sort of thing that, you kind of fall into, but it's up to you if you want to take it to that next level to really upskill yourself.
Right. No, you brought up a couple of good points. The idea or the fact that, like you said, um, free trainings and things that are available at low cost, again, which is in the last 10 years, that has increased significantly where you can, basically type in something and say, hey, I'd like to learn more about this. And you're going to get a large selection of things that you could, study up on or read articles or videos you can watch. And that's part of that being deliberate about, that skill stacking. Because again, like you said, your wife has been, as a nurse for a long time. Things have changed since probably when she earned her degree or when she
Mhm.
first started. And
Absolutely.
like you said, now she's a subject matter expert because she leaned into it. And that's what we're suggesting that it's not to potentially even be a subject matter expert, but to be more effective, more proficient at your job. You
Mhm.
can't just sit back and say, "Oh, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't need any new training. I'm the way things are going now. I don't need to change. Everything is the way it was supposed to be." No, that's as time goes on, people figure out better ways to do it, more efficient ways to do it. So you really need to be in the know about what's relevant today. I think we've said that several times because that is really what it is. You could be that old dinosaur that never changes, and you could be on the outside looking in if that's the approach you take. So it's
Mhm.
really about, again, being intentional about that growth development, not because you're trying to move, but that you're trying to stay relevant where you are today and prepare yourself potentially for that advancement down the road because you may be where you want to be as an individual contributor or playing a small role right now. What about a year from now? What about 5 years from now? uh, you may change your mind. So if you've been keeping up to speed, stacking those skills that you needed or that are relevant, or if you look kind of into the future and say, well, these might help me at that next level, that's really what we're talking about when we're stacking those skills.
Yeah, and I think that's a great segue into our weekly challenge. And the challenge for you this week is to identify 3 skills that you can stack, that you can improve upon. And if you're not sure, reach out to your supervisor or your leader and have them help you. But that's the challenge. Identify 3 skills you can stack, and that'll be the starting point for what you can do, how you can start pursuing those to be deliberate about uh, stacking those skills up, upskilling them, if you will.
Okay.
So, Joe, what are some of your final thoughts? I mean, we've got about 3 minutes left, 4 minutes left. So let's kind of wind this up and give some final thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, I'll go back to kind of where we started with. I really kind of being clear about what you're trying to do with these skills. Why do you need to, you know, update your skills or to stack your skills? And it really comes down to, do you want to be better at your job and make sure you're maximizing all those things that are available in that current position? Or are you trying to move from individual contributor to a leadership role where you're going to now lead people? And definitely that's going to require more skills that you need to stack. Or are you a leader right now that want to move to that executive level? So, identifying where you're trying to go or why you need to stack those skills is very important because that's kind of where, the conversation I had with a couple of gentlemen, they were thinking, oh, well, I just need to get this certification. Then people are going to be like, oh, he's qualified. Stop him and say, hey, you've got this many years of experience. So really think about, is it going to make a difference if you get that additional certification? So just really being aligned with where this is going to take you, because you could have a stack of, you know, irrelevant certifications. You got a certification for PMP, you got one for HR, you got one for IT. Are those all relevant for what you're doing or where you're trying to go? So I think that's a really good place to start. Just identifying why you need to stack your skills.
Yeah. And I'm going to add on to that. do a little self-promoting for us. We want you to check out our website. It's revamped, it's more focused, it's more deliberate. We're providing 3 tools for you for free, no cost to you. The weekly challenge journal. There's a short 10-question assessment that you can take. If you want more information from, that more detailed information to come out of that assessment, you can take our free diagnostic, to help get you started and help you find some direction on where you're at in your mid career, some things you might want to consider doing or thinking about. And again, subscribe, share, and like the podcast. That we're being very deliberate about getting the word out this year, to increase our audience, to provide these tools for more people so that they can benefit from the podcast as well. And the tools that we have available. Again, no cost. This is just knowledge sharing for us, you know, helping us stay relevant in our own direction with the podcast. So, I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners for joining us on another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast, the mid career professional podcast. Um, yeah, and I think with that, until next time, as always, we want you to continue being your not so ordinary you.